Hey, Algebra 2. Today we're going to talk about normal distribution, whatever that means. Let's figure it out.
Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
Okay, this is lesson 80. We're going to figure out how to find normal distribution. Let's do a little review of statistics. You can find your basic statistics like mean, median, mode, and range. And then you can find standard deviation, which is a little bit more complicated, but it kind of tells us how far our numbers deviate from our mean. Okay, so if we have like a histogram or a graph of our statistics, for example, in the book, it talks about if you roll a pair of dice, how many times you get a sum of 2, how many times you get a sum of 3, all the way up to a sum of 12, okay? So what the histogram looks like is like this little tower thing where you're going to get more occurrences of getting the sum of 7 or 8 or things like that. Okay, so what it does is it creates this histogram that looks kind of like a mountain. We call this shape a bell curve. If you were to draw a line over the tops of all these bars in the bar graph, it would form a bell curve. So data that forms a bell curve is what we call normal distribution. So it has qualities that are symmetric. So for example, if I drew a line down the middle of a bell curve, that would be like the mean. And then each side of that would be symmetric. Okay, so it's like a reflection of the other. So we're going to introduce some Greek letters that will help us explain this a little more. So mean is the Greek letter mu. Looks kind of like an M, but it's pronounced mu, as in, what does the cow say? I think some people pronounce it mew, but I think the cool kids are saying moo. And then we're going to talk about our standard deviation, which is the Greek letter sigma. So this is kind of like a weird O. So the mean and standard deviation tell you how high the bell curve is. It's going to tell you how wide it is. So if there's numbers that are deviating a ways away from the mean, then it's going to be wider. And it's going to tell you the location of the mean, where those numbers are. This little diagram shows us what a normal distribution looks like. There's this thing called the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, which applies to normal distribution. Here's what it says. About 68% of the data lie within one standard deviation of the mean. So for example, if one standard deviation is 2, then 68% is going to be either 2 below the mean or 2 above the mean. Okay? About 95% of the data lie within 2 standard deviations of the mean. Okay? So if that standard deviation is 2, then 2 of them would be 4 below and 4 on top. Okay? So it'd be 8 total. And that's about 95%. And then 99.7% of the data lie within 3 standard deviations of the mean. Okay? So if our standard deviation was 2, then 6 below and 6 above would be 99.7% of the data. Okay? So there is about 0.3-ish% that lie outside of 3 standard deviations of the mean. Okay, so we're going to use this information to help us do example 1. Use the mean and standard deviation of normal distribution to figure this out. So let's say a set of test scores are normally distributed. There's a mean of 75. Okay, so the test score's mean was 75, and a standard deviation of 4. So our mean is 75, and our standard deviation is 4. Okay, so that means 68% are between, let's see, 71 and 79. So if the standard deviation is 4, then one standard deviation away would be either 4 below the mean or 4 above the mean. Okay? So that means 95% are between, let's see, 2 standard deviations. So 75 minus 8 is 67, and 75 plus 8 is 83. Okay? And then 99.7% are between 12 below and 12 above. So 63 and 87. Okay, so the example says, what percent of scores are between 67 and 83? Well, we just figured that out. So A is 95%. So between 67 and 83 is right there, 95%. What percent are in between 75 and 79%? Well, one standard deviation is 4, so it's the upper half, right? So it's half of this 68, which is 34%. C asks, what percent of the scores are between 79 and 83? Okay, well, where does 79 and 83 lie? That falls in this category, but it's the upper half of this upper half. So maybe it'd be helpful to draw our bell curve here with these specific examples here. Okay, so if our mean, this is our mean, which is 75. And then we've got one distribution down here, which is 71. The other half of that is 79. And we've got two distributions, which is 83 and 67. Then we've got three distributions at 87 and 63. If this whole thing is 68%, that means this thing is 34%. This is 34%. Okay, and if this is 95%, well, that means this has to add up to 47.5, and this has to add up to 47.5. So these little slivers would be 13.5%. So there's only 13.5% that lie in this category here. Because if you add these together, that's 47.5% plus another 47.5%. So that is 95%. Okay, and then what about this guy here? Well, this is just 99.7 minus 95%, and then you divide that by 2. So what percentage is that? Well, not much. That is just the rest of this 50%, which is 2.5%. 2.5%. I know that's hard to read. Okay, so let's look back at our C example. What percent is in between 79 and 83? Well, it tells us exactly. 13.5%. So this is a great little diagram, and I'll post something like that too. So let's replace this messiness with this. You're welcome. Okay, so sometimes it's helpful to look at a normal distribution in a very standardized way. We actually call this standard normal distribution. And that sounds kind of redundant. But a standard normal distribution is a normal distribution that has a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. So this brings us to another term called a z-score. So the z-score is the value of a data point on the standard normal distribution. So it's basically how many standard deviations it is away from the mean. So in our last example, if our mean was 75 and our standard deviation is 4, a 67 would be 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So it would have a z-score of 2. So basically your z-score is how many standard deviations away from the mean it is. Okay, so you can plug it into this formula. Basically, z-score is just whatever your x value is minus your mean, all divided by your standard deviation. So let's use our last example of 67. So 67 z-score is equal to 67 minus 75, which was our mean, all divided by our standard deviation, which is 4. Okay? So 67 minus 75 is negative 8, divided by 4, which is negative 2. And that's right, because it's 2 standard deviations. Remember, a standard deviation is 4 in this example, so 2 of them would be 8. 75 minus 8 is 67. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of confusing, but I think it's just confusing because we're introducing a new term, this z-score, okay? So let's do a couple more examples. Example 2 talks about the weights of cans produced in a factory. They have a mean of 6.5 ounces and a standard deviation of 0.2 ounces, okay? So we're gonna say the mean is 6.5 ounces and the standard deviation is 0.25 ounces, okay? So let's find the z-score of 6.9. So A is 6.9. Find the z-score. So that equals 6.9 minus our mean, 6.5, all divided by our standard deviation. All right, so that's 0.4 divided by 0.25, which equals 1.6. You can just plug and chug. Understanding what the z-score is a little more challenging and harder to remember. But remember, if you're asked to find the z-score and you know the formula, then you're good to go. Let's try B. A randomly selected can weighs 6.4 ounces. How many standard deviations is this below the mean? Okay? Remember, when you're asking for how many standard deviations, that's just the z-score. Okay, so let's plug it in. So z-score equals 6.4 minus 6.5 all over 0.25. So that's negative 0.1 divided by 0.25, which equals negative 0.4. That's pretty much all there is to it. So remember, since your z-score represents how many standard deviations away it is, if it's a really big number, then we would call that something that's out of the norm. It's out of the 99.7-ish% of the data, then we would call that an outlier. So if I found the average of all of our ages, all of you students and my age, well, that would kind of throw off the average because our average age would be older than all of you because my age messes that up. My age messes a lot of things up, actually. So we would call my age an outlier because my age is not a good representation of the age of our class, okay? So that would be called an outlier. So let's look at example 5 and then we'll call it good for the day here. Example 5, I'm just gonna read it. A student A received a score of 63 on a test. Where the scores are normally distributed with a mean of 50 and a standard deviation of 8. Okay, student B received a 32 on a test, different test, because that would have been bad. And this mean is 28 with a standard deviation of 1.8. So the question asks which student scored better in comparison with their class, okay? So we're gonna find the z-scores of these two examples. So let's see, the z-score of 63 is going to be 63 minus mean all over standard deviation, okay? The z-score for this guy is going to be 32 minus the mean all over that deviation, 1.8. So if we do this math, we get 1.625. We do this math, we get approximately 2.22, okay? So it looks like student A was closer to the average of the class, and student B was a little bit farther. So compared to the average, student B scored better or farther above the mean of the class, the average of the class. So we would say student B scored better compared to the rest of their class. Okay? Does that make sense? I know these are fancy words and weird letters, but this is pretty standard in statistics. It's kind of good to know this stuff. Statistics can save lives. Maybe it's not saving your life right now, but it's saving somebody's life. Okay, that's lesson 80. Stick with me for lesson 81 coming up.
Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!